Welcome back to Healthcare Business Growth Conversations. I'm Rakesh, and today I am joined by someone with one of the most seasoned perspectives in American specialty care. Dr. Khademi has spent over 35 years in medicine and 20 years building Countryside Neurology in Palm Harbor, Florida. His story spans entrepreneurship, leadership, innovation, and the shifts happening in specialty care today. Dr. Khademi, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you for this nice introduction. My name is Dr. Ardeshir Khademi. I'm a neurologist in Florida, Palm Harbor area, and I've been in practice for the past more than 25 years.
Perfect. So, before we get on to the business side, I want to start with something a little bit more personal. Like, after all these years, what is the one thing about the practice of neurology that still fascinates you every single day?
I think what interests me in neurology is that we are having increased number of innovations in regard to drug delivery, to diagnostic testing. A lot of, I think for a period of time, neurology maybe was behind other fields. I remember when I was a medical student, intern at that time, there wasn't a significant amount of treatments, medications available. But I think in recent past, maybe in the past 10 years, neurology has exploded and it has come to everyday life of a lot of people now.
Got it. Got it. So, let's go back to where your business journey really began. So, take us back to 2004. You made the decision to open your own neurology practice. Like, what was the original vision behind Countryside Neurology?
So, I graduated from my residency, Wayne State University, Detroit, Michigan in 2000. And at that time, I was looking to find a job. I joined a group of neurology and I was practicing part of that group from 2000 to 2004. During my practice at that time, I felt that I would do better if I have my own business. I think people may have two set of mentalities. Some people are more comfortable being an employee, and some people would like to be employer, more entrepreneurship type of thought process. At the time, I was thinking that as an employee, I'm restricted. I don't have freedom to do things that I would like to do. I didn't have freedom to bring the new ideas that I wanted to bring to the practice. And I felt limited. So after 4 years, I decided that it's time for me to move on and start my own practice. And I couldn't stay in that area. There are restrictions in the contracts. New graduates should know that if you join a practice, you may not be able to stay in that same area. You may have to leave. They call it restricted covenant. So I had to leave that 50-mile radius. I was looking to find a place that I can start my own practice. And that's how I ended up with Countryside Neurology in Tampa Bay area, Palm Harbor.
Got it. So, now I always look into the business names, and then your business name is Countryside Neurology. So, who came up with that name? What was the story behind that?
Yeah, so that's interesting because I didn't know what type of name I should choose. And Countryside is a neighborhood in this area close to my office. So I thought that the easiest thing is to choose that name. So I didn't really need to think hard about the name. I just chose the name of the neighborhood.
Okay, got it. And then you have been running it since 2004.
Yes.
Perfect. That's a long journey. So,
yes.
Yeah, in the first year, what was the biggest business shock? Because you are out of your residency, you are never formally educated to run a business. You got a formal education in neurology, but not in running a business, right? So, what is the biggest business shock? Something that you didn't expect at all?
I think I was lucky that I was part of that group for 4 years, and my boss was an astute entrepreneur. So during my 4 years there, I learned a lot of things from him, of how he was handling his practice and his business. I think he was a role model for me. And that really helped me to take the risk. I think if I wanted to start a practice after residency, it would have been much more difficult. But that gave me a baseline as some foundation of what are the difficulties if I want to do this. And I think that helped me. So when I started in 2004, I had some ideas, but even with some background ideas, you will get surprised because there are a lot of challenges. If I want to tell you what was my first challenge was, I purchased a tiny office, and I got loan for that, office purchase of that. So going through the banking system was new for me, and providing them with the data and information and credit history and going through interviews with them and all that was new for me. Coming out of residency, I didn't have any idea about those. I wanted to renovate that office because it was old office, and I had to get contractor. Again, a new concept for me. And my first surprise was, whatever the contractor tells you in regard to how long it takes for the office to get ready or the project to finish, time-wise and money-wise will not happen. So what they estimated to me, the time was almost twice that, and the price was twice that. So that was, I think, the first sticker shock that I got.
So getting the credit was the first business shock for you, going through the paperwork.
So anybody that wants to do that should be ready that things may not move exactly what they think that direction, and things could change significantly.
Got it. Got it. That's a good story. So, whatever you said was totally right in terms of your first boss. I firmly believe that it's not about your first job, it's about your first boss who makes an impact that you will take it almost for the lifetime. So, hearing it from you is refreshing for me because even I tell to many graduates and graduates, it doesn't matter which company you work for. It can be a big MNC or it can be a small agency. It always depends on your boss who will be shaping up your perspective towards the work. So, and I'm glad to hear that it's your first boss who gave you a different perspective on entrepreneurship and uh, paved next step for you to start your own business.
Yes, I think having a boss is a great idea. I think it is unlikely that your boss will come and teach you about how to become entrepreneurial and leave him because there is no incentive in that. But if you are a good observer, you can always learn from how things are run. So you do your job, you're good at your job, and at the same time, you pay attention to how the business is run. And that is what will give you some foundation of what to do in the future.
Perfect. So, like you have mentioned, you're having an immigrant perspective. So, in what ways did your background shape your work ethic, your decisions, and the way you built your business in the US healthcare system? You said you have an immigrant perspective when we were talking about your background yesterday. So, like that was a totally different perspective. You might have gone through like the paperwork, and then you come from a uh, different cultural background. So, how did that background shape your work ethic, your decisions, and the way you built your business in the US healthcare system?
I think as an immigrant, it will be very difficult to even do the residency, and especially somebody like me, because I came here to United States 5 days before my first interview. So I was not living here. I just arrived, and when I was telling my story to program directors and chief of the department, they were all surprised. I remember my first interview, that was a Monday, and they asked me, so how long you been in US? I said, well, I actually came Wednesday. So it was like 5 days before that. So they were all surprised because I think all of the other candidates have been here for some years and they had experience working in different places. They knew the culture and all of that. So for me, all of that was new coming here. And obviously the culture changed, and also just the way that things are done is different. And for me to learn that and go through that was a challenge. I always say that I always love to be here and live here. So for me, it was like a dream making it to US, and fortunately it worked out for me. But I came and I did the interviews, and as I said, people were surprised with the whole story. There is a funny story I want to tell you, that when I did my first interview, the chief of the department asked me, "So how did you come here, like to the interview?" And I said, "Well, I came here with bus." And he told me, "How did you come here with bus?" I said, "Well, you have to change 3 lines from the train station in Baltimore, and then I came here with a bus." And he told me, "I didn't think we have a bus stop here." I said, "No, there's a bus stop just in front of the hospital. Just down the stairs, there's a bus stop." So I came to the bus stop and then walked to the hospital. He was surprised. He told me, "Well, I've always been driving to the hospital. I didn't know that there is a bus stop here." So yeah, it was challenging and difficult, but at the same time, I think for me it was exciting to start this process of starting residency and everything else that pursued after that.
Awesome. So, your practice has stayed strong for over 20 years now. What do you believe allowed you to build something so durable when many private practices has been going through rapid changes, especially post-COVID?
Yes. I started my practice in 2004, very small office. I was always cost conscious. I was always thinking that, how I will develop a practice here and how successful I will be is unknown. So I didn't want to have a large loan, big responsibility. I didn't want to have many staff. So I started very small. And I was thinking that if I'm in right track, I will always have time to make it bigger. So one thing that is important for anybody that wants to start the practice is to start really at an affordable level and small. And then you will always have time to grow if you're successful. So that was one of the things that helped me to stay in business. As you said, during COVID, it became really challenging, really difficult. We had to switch from in-person visits to televisits quickly within like a couple of days. We didn't have enough business for all of our staff. And all of that will be stressful, but at the same time, you need to be decisive, make decisions. I think something that has helped me to stay in this business is having a purpose of why we are in this business. That matters, because you will go through a lot of hardship through years.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think at the end of the day, you got to be aware of your purpose and make sure it is affordable for you in the initial days. So now I think a lot of young physicians underestimate how much resilience and long-term thinking goes into this foundational philosophy. Um, so now I want to shift into something every physician founder struggles with, which is leadership. So medical school doesn't teach HR or team building. So how did your leadership style evolve over the years? Were you more hands-on in the early stage, and how has that changed as the practice grew?
Yes. Well, when I started practice, we were very tiny. So I was involved in everything. And even now, I'm involved in a lot of things. When you're a solo practitioner, you're involved in a lot of decisions. I was always telling my friends that when I started practice, and even now, probably I need to find out where to find the cheapest toilet paper. Where do you want to find pen? If you want to put your ads or the name of your company on the pen, how much do they charge? Should you order 100? Should you order 500? Which vendor you should find? So there are a lot of things that especially at the beginning, you're involved. I think that is a big difference from if you're an employee. If you're an employee, you go to your job, whatever shift you have, 9 to 5 or whatever shift is, you get your salary. You're not involved in anything else. The boss, the management will take care of everything else. You do your work. At the end of the week or month, you're paid for it. But if you start a practice, the medicine part of it, neurology part of it, is just one area. But there are so many other components that you need to look for. You need to make sure your overhead doesn't come out of control. You will be involved in HR, hire and fire. When I came out of residency, I've never hired anybody and I've never fired anybody. And those are difficult decisions. Those are emotional decisions. You want to do interview and you look at the paper, you look at the resume and it looks great. And does it really replicate that this person is great and in action? Now, through the 20 years, I've learned that these are not equal. What is on resume is not necessarily what you get. And through these years, I've learned that at sometimes you need to be assertive. And if you have an employee that cannot be part of team, not a team player, you need to let them go. And these are all difficult decisions. You don't want to make those decisions. But if you don't want to make that decision, who needs to make that decision? Somebody needs to make that decision. So I've been involved in HR. I've been involved in purchases. I've been involved in loans and mortgages. I've been involved in buying equipment. I've been involved in training people. I've been involved in interviews. I remember one time we were doing interview for front desk. And the lady told me, this is so strange because I've never had any interview that doctor was also sitting there. But at the same time, you want to bring people that are really qualified. Because I always tell my employees that you are the first line of my contact with the patients. If the patients call and you're rude with them, if you're impatient with them, impatient, you don't have time to talk with them, they think that you're cutting through the conversation, they say, Dr. Khademi's office is like that. It all reflects on me. Countryside Neurology, don't go there. The staff are not nice. So you are my first line, and it's important how you deal with people. People are in pain. People may have hearing issues. They may not hear you. You may need to shout. Sometimes I can hear them from front desk. When they talk with patients on the phone, I can hear it because they have to shout. A lot of my patients have cognitive impairment. You have to repeat things to them. They don't understand it. They forget it. They may call you 2 minutes later with the same questions. And if somebody is impatient, if somebody is not trained enough, that will be a problem because that will affect quality of work that we provide to the community.
Now, I think whatever you said now is really gold, because even when we took over, when we take over any to help any practice, the first thing that I do is whether you have a call recording or not. If not, that is the first thing that I do. Put the call recording and then do the analysis of the calls and then make sure how many. You are running a specialty practice. You are not a 24/7 specialty, right? Your office has timings. And then in the initial days, I still remember back in 2017, I was helping a podiatrist in South Florida. He was running online. He was running offline ads. Now he came to me and then he said, my marketing is not working. And then I was like, okay, let me take a look at it. And then I told him, you're getting enough leads. And then he was like, no, I'm not seeing enough patients. I don't know what you mean by enough leads. Then the first thing that I did was implement the call tracking. And then I asked him, give me 8 weeks of time to analyze the data. Just be patient with me and I will be able to see what is breaking from lead to a patient journey. And then almost 60% of his leads either not answered because they are after office hours, or they got into voicemail, the voicemail was full, Or, it was not just answered, even it was during the regular office hours. When I presented him the data, and then I told him, you don't have a marketing problem, you have an operations problem. And then, it took him a couple of days to process everything. And then he came back to me and then he was like, now what should I do? And then he was like, you shouldn't be hiring more marketing people or marketing agency. Either you should be hiring more in-house people, or you should go and hire a call center that runs 24/7 for you, and then get 800 number, just force everyone to call 800, and then the call center will route to the specific department. And that changed the whole dynamics for him. And then I still remember the cost per patient was down by tremendously, in hundreds of percentages. So, that was my first hands-on experience. And then since then, even though it is not a marketing job, the first thing that I do is just go and check how the front desk is, or ask at least the owner / the doctor, like, how comfortable you are with your front desk, because you said it right. It's a first line of defense. Not only first line of defense, but also that might be the last line a lot of times, because now past them, you are the last person they will see at your clinic. Like, they have to pass, right? And then till then,
I think you're absolutely right. Imagine you call an office and you're just placed on hold and nobody is picking up the phone. You may just say, well, I don't think this, if their operation is like this, everything else is probably like this. So this is not the office that I want to go. If you're just long period of time on the phone, or the call drops, or nobody calls you back, all of those things can have negative effect. I always say that the best marketing for any practice is word of mouth. For our practice, the best marketing is word of mouth. There are families that I see, like 3 of them as patients, because I saw the first one, then they brought the second one, like the daughter brought the mother, grandmother. Now I see 3 people in the same family. I didn't do marketing, but one person comes, and if they're satisfied, if they feel that somebody is listening to them and somebody is explaining things to them, somebody is trying to be clear and clarify the issues, then they say, why do you want to go to anywhere else? Go to this place because they listen to me, they explain to me, and that's how your practice will expand. So word of mouth, I think, even with all of the marketings that we have now, word of mouth is the best point for any practice.
Yeah, because you're taking care the most important thing, which is the front desk, which is really a smart move over there. So, yeah, on the same line, right? You are leading the medical staff, the non-medical staff, the tech, and vendors for various reasons. So, what have you learned about leading people in a high complexity specialty environment?
What I understand from this situation of dealing, as you said, with a lot of different peoples with different backgrounds, as you said, drug reps, vendors, contractors, front office staff, back office staff, clinicians, mid-levels, and all of that. To me, the most important thing is to help them grow their potential. I think people have potential, and that potential in appropriate environment will prosper. So let them prosper, give them guardrails, give them direction, but let them prosper. Don't micromanage. Let them make decisions and take responsibility for that. Encourage them to get better. That is what has worked for me. I've never tried to micromanage my office, be involved in small details. I think a leader should delegate responsibilities to other people and let them make decisions and just supervise. I think that's my best experience. There are different things that, as a leader in an office, you need to consider. For example, if somebody's function is not optimal the way that you like it, always talk with them, in person, not in front of other people, not in a public place in the office. Always spend time one-on-one, find out what are the reasons for what is happening. Sometimes people have personal issues, family issues, and sometimes you can help that. Imagine somebody has to drop her kid every morning at 8 o'clock, right? Maybe you can accommodate it and let that person come to office at 9 o'clock, and instead of leaving at 4, leave at 5. You have to understand that people have their own issues, complex life, and you have to accommodate as much as you can if you feel that you have a team player that has a potential.
Got it. That's a good lesson to take away. Like delegate, that's the leadership, rather than micromanaging every single thing, which eventually burn you out after a period of time.
I think it will be good for the clinician, for provider, for like a leader too, because the hot issue now is burnout. Physician burnt out is a big problem. And if you really want to do everything yourself alone, that way you will get exhausted. You will burn out with, all of that load. And especially if you don't have autonomy, if you don't have purpose, that will even make things worse.
Yeah, you said it right. So, jumping onto a different topic here, you said you closed your physical therapy department and replaced it with an infusion center. So, which is a major strategic shift. How do you guide your team through big transitions like that?
I would say it's very difficult. I think you need to have a consistency in regard to assessing your function. And if you have a department that is not able to function at the level that you want, you need to reassess how long you want to keep it that way. What do you want to do with that? We started physical therapy in our office, and it was a unique thing. There is really not a lot of neurology offices that incorporate physical therapy department in the office. It was a good decision in regard to improving the quality of care that we provide to the patients, because now patients will get the service under the same roof. Previously, we had a referral to other physical therapists. We didn't have great communication. We didn't know what is going on, almost like a black box or black hole. You send a patient comes back. You don't really know what happened there. You ask the patient, so what did they do? Well, they did some exercises with me. They obviously send notes, but, the amount of notes is just getting bigger and bigger because of electronic medical record systems. Do you really have time to read all of those notes among a lot of other paperwork that you get or digital paperwork that you get? It will be difficult. So I didn't really know what's going on with the patients. If a patient comes and says, I'm better, or a patient comes and says, I'm worse, what has really done it? I didn't know. And I wanted to provide that same service. And I knew that because our office provides a great quality of service, I knew that we will be successful in that. And in fact, patients were loving it. They loved it. They were coming to the office. They were happy doing physical therapy. I think the issue that we had with physical therapy was physical therapy in the United States is a very competitive job. You can find a physician very easily, and they have a lot of choices to work in different places. They can be part of home health care. They can work in assisted living facility, nursing homes. They can work in the hospitals. They can work for insurance companies. They can work for mobile facilities that right now, that's a new service, mobile physical therapy. They can even do remote physical therapy. So there are so many options for them. It's really difficult to retain physical therapists. And the thing that was difficult for me was to have these gaps through the process, that a physical therapist leaves, and now we have difficulty recruiting a new one. So at some point, I decided that this is affecting continuity of care that we provide to the patients, and it's affecting the quality. So it's better that we abandon the idea and see if we can find a better use for the space that we have. And I always wanted to do infusion therapies for the same reason, because on the same roof, patients love it. They know our staff, they know us, they're happy with us. They always tell us, we would like to come back here to do treatment. We send them for infusion to other places. Sometimes they go to oncology offices that are big in infusions. Our patients, our neurology patients, they don't like it to go to those places because now they have to sit with cancer patients, and so they don't have a great experience. Sometimes we have delays, difficulties sending them for infusion. Again, because whenever you send patients somewhere else, it's somewhat out of your control. And bringing that on the same roof, we will have better control and facilitate these therapies, make them more accessible and faster. So I thought that will improve the quality of life that we are providing for infusion therapies in neurology, that we have different infusions. We have IVIG, we have infusions for myasthenia gravis or multiple sclerosis. We want to have infusion for patients with migraine when they have a status migrainosus, meaning that they have migraine for a few days. Right now, they have to go to ER. If they call us and say that I have a headache that is not stopping, continuous, 10 out of 10, they say, then we have to say go to ER, because we don't really have anything, we didn't have anything in the office to provide. But now we are able to provide rescue infusions, and for patients it's much more comfortable. They don't have that waiting in the ER. They don't have extra expenses that they have to incur in the ER. So that will be a great convenience for them. So I think it is great quality of service for our patients, and I think at this point of time it makes sense to
Got it.
do.
So, like, you reimagined it, and then you added that, is it more towards serving to the existing patients, or the goal was to get more new patients just for that infusion?
No, our goal was to provide service to our existing patients, so they don't need to look for other places. In future, maybe we will have new patients for that. If there are neurologists, for example, that they feel better to refer to us, to a neurology practice, to have the infusion for them, that could be our clients in future. But currently, our focus is on own patients and providing a better service to our own patients and make their life more comfortable.
Perfect. That's really a smart move. So let's talk about innovation for a moment, because the landscape is changing fast with AI. There is a lot of conversation about AI and digital tools in healthcare. So, from your perspective, where do you see technology, not only in terms of AI, but the other technologies that you see, making a real practical difference in your specialty practice? Not just the hype, but the genuine impact on ground.
Well, we started having electronic medical record in 2010. At
Oh,
that time, for us, was a shock.
yeah.
Going from paper system to digital system was a big transition. We had, a steep learning curve to get to that point that we became more comfortable with electronic medical record. Sometimes I was thinking that we were better with paper charts,
Yeah.
easier to find our notes. With changing to electronic medical record, I didn't know where is each piece of information, where is it in this universe of electronic medical records. We needed to learn the system and where are the buttons and all of that. And especially for somebody who is not a great typist, typing more was a challenge. So that was a big shock, I think, to many medical practices, switching from paper to electronic record. It has helped with some aspects of our practice, but at the same time, I think it has caused some complexities, new complexities in our practices. For example, now when I ask records from a hospital or outside facilities, I may get like 200 pages of records
Wow.
because In the past, they needed to take the paper, take it to the fax machine, load it one by one to the fax machine and all of that. So that was difficult. So they were sending like a few pages, maybe most important pages. Now with a click of button, they can send records to us. And just imagine that sheer volume of records that we get, like 200 pages, 300 pages. And for a clinician, it will be difficult in a limited time that you have with a patient to go through those 200 pages and find the areas that are related to you. Because that volume of papers is including nurses' notes, physical therapy notes, administration, social worker, occupational therapist, speech therapist, so many notes there and so many recording of vital signs and things that for you, you're seeing the patient in office, a lot of that doesn't matter. You want the core knowledge of neurology-wise, why the patient was there, what did the MRI showed, what was the neurological diagnosis, and you need to go search in these 200, 300 pages and find that. So introducing innovation does not necessarily mean that things will be easier or more comfortable. Now, AI, same thing. I think AI is now becoming part of our practices, and I think we need to be careful how we deal with that. AI could help us manage the challenges that we have, but we need to be careful not to delegate judgment to AI. So at the end, clinician is the person that will have the judgment about the patient. AI in neurology will be important. And the reason for that is, I would say neurology is one of the most difficult fields, no offense to other specialties, but we have a lot of neurological conditions. Some of them common, many of them are rare, some of them are atypical and rare presentation of common conditions. And having a differential diagnosis, having a view of all of those possibilities could be difficult. And I think AI can have a role in helping with that possibility of wide spectrum of knowledge and differential diagnosis. I think we will get into issue if we want AI to make decisions for clinicians. And also we need to be careful with ethical concerns regarding AI environment. We need to be careful with transparency, that patients will be aware that AI is part of the system. And I think the future is AI involvement, the way that I see it. We just need to be cautious with ethical questions, and also making sure that human is the one that will make the judgment. Neurologist is the one that will make the judgment.
Got it. And I think that's a really careful move that you're making. So you have to use the technology. You have to definitely make use of it whenever it is at your hand. Yet you have to be cautious of what you're consuming with that. So yeah. So like on the same note, when you think about the outpatient specialty care 10 years from now, what do you believe it will look like if current trends continue?
I think we may have a crisis in outpatient neurology practice that is not discussed in the communities. We will have a significant shortage of neurologists and psychiatrists, as far as I know, in the United States. And I think this shortage will unfortunately get worse. A young neurologist that graduates from residency has many choices that maybe we did not have like 25 years ago. They can easily go to teleneurology services. They can be employed by hospitals as neurohospitalists. They may stay in academics in the universities and just do research. They may join larger groups. I think the challenge would be for a young neurologist to start his own practice. And my guess is in future we will have less outpatient neurologists, and that will be a crisis for patients that need to be seen and evaluated by neurologists. Either after hospital admissions, they need to have a continuity of care, or just de novo if they want to, have a neurological issues and they want to see a neurologist. If you think about it, if you graduate from residency, instead of taking loans and mortgages, instead of having headache for overhead, hire and fire, and HR issues, and on all of these decisions that potentially could cause cognitive load for you, or cognitive overload, you can just be employed, a teleneurology service. You can practice from your own home. So it has a lot of incentive for young neurologists not to come to, brick and mortar neurology practices. And that, I think, will combine that with shortage of neurologists in future. So I think we will have a crisis.
That's a direction many people don't see clearly yet. Really insightful. I think if that is a trend, then there is an opportunity for the young neurologists, right? They can really look into it, and then there is a market for them to run their own practice. But still, as you said, there is a lot of hard work beyond the practice, managing the business, the leadership roles, managing the different vendors you have to go through. But still, clearly, there is a lot of opportunity in the market.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So now I'm thinking, okay, a young neurologist that graduates from residency, the one that doesn't want to be employee, the one that wants to have autonomy in what he does or she does. Because one of the joys in my life every day, I come to office, I'm so happy that I'm coming to office. Sometimes people make fun and say, oh, Monday morning, I feel great. I'm going to my office. I have had new ideas in the weekend. I want to talk with the staff and management about implementing some new ideas and different things. The practice belongs to me. I'm so happy Monday morning when I come to the office, because I feel a sense of purpose. I see the sense of belonging to this and what I built for myself and for our patients. So a young neurologist that graduates from residency, if wants to go to private practice, will have two major choices. If he decides not to go to those other fields like neurohospitalist, teleneurology, and all of that, one will be to have a startup, meaning start a practice from ground. And one will be acquisition of a existing practice. My advice to that person will be not to look for a startup. It will be so difficult to do that, and potentially risk of burnout, if you try to do that. The best option will be try to acquire an existing practice. If you look at the economy, the baby boomers are retiring, and there will be a great shift of wealth in the United States, meaning that these people are retiring. They have developed all of these businesses, small businesses, through years, and now appropriate candidates, candidates that are interested in that, are in a position to acquire those businesses that are money makers, those businesses that have survived, they're productive. This could be small businesses like making gutters for, the houses, construction things, different things that baby boomer generation has built. Now they want to retire, and who will take them? I think a young person in neurology field, and same thing with neurology, baby boomers in neurology practices. Now they want to retire, and this is the best time for a young neurologist to take over, acquire these practices and expand. If they do not do it, who will substitute them? Private equity. Private equity is becoming more assertive and aggressive in regard to acquiring medical practices, and that will also infiltrate to neurology practices. And I think a young neurologist that wants to have autonomy, has purpose in what he wants to do, this is the best opportunity for them. So not to do a startup, not to start something from the beginning and from scratch, but find a productive, well-run, quality practice to acquire that.
Well, what I call that is, from the business language, it is a blue ocean, meaning now it is not yet explored by many. So I think that's something that every resident and then fellow listening needs to think about. Um, Definitely that's where the blue ocean is right now. That's really insightful. I want to close with something that's at the heart of this podcast, like guidance for the next generation of physicians, but you already gave that direction for them. So do you have any other, like you said, when I was talking with you earlier this week, there are a lot of fellows who got intimidated by the idea of starting their own clinic. And then would you still convince them that private practice is still viable and worth the effort with the strategy that you said? Or any other thoughts that you have on this?
Yes, I think this is the best time for somebody who wants to start a practice, private practice. The need is increasing. The baby boomer population is getting older. With increasing age of the population, there will be increased need for neurodegenerative diseases, management, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, those type of conditions. They will just increase significantly the number of patients. There are many new therapeutics and new innovations in neurology practice that some of them are in research level, some of them are coming to the communities. Imagine brain-computer interfaces, BCI, that I think will be a revolution. AI itself in neurology will be a revolution. And I think this is a great opportunity for somebody intellectually to be involved in all of these new therapies that become available, all of these options that we did not have 40 years ago. And also business-wise, the competition is shrinking. So it will be a good opportunity to acquire a practice, and in appropriate mindset, even expand the practice, not even stay in one practice, expand it. So that's, I think, how young neurologists can build wealth. I think this is the best time for somebody to come to practice. But again, the person need to have a sense of purpose, need to go through hardship. It won't be easy. It will be challenging and difficult, long days, and all of that. But I think what caused burnout is really not working hard, is not to have autonomy and purpose. That is what will burn you, not just working hard. I've worked hard for many years. I graduated medical school in 1990. So I've been practicing physician since 1990. So it's like 35 years.
Yeah.
I still wake up happy in the morning that I'm coming to office. I'm happy that I'm able to contribute to the service that we have to the patients, improve the quality, use innovations in our neurology practice, and make things better. And I think that is something that if you are an employee, you may not have that joy. But if you are employer, if you're in control, that will give you that joy, that satisfaction, that purpose. I think that's more important than monetary gain, more important than anything else.
Got it. No, that's really insightful. So, on the same line, I just want to ask you one more question. Like you're in the medicine for over 35 years now, and then over 2 decades in the business. What is the one principle that has guided you through every chapter of your career?
I'm thinking about this, how I came to neurology to begin with. Let me tell you this story because that is funny in some sense. I was a medical student and I went a rotation of neurology with my professor. My professor was trained in UK. So when he was talking, he had this British accent, and he was a little bit of a funny person too. So I went to did rotation with this guy, and he had a hammer and an ophthalmoscope for examination of the eye. And we were in a referral hospital, like from all of the country, patients, neurological patients were coming to that place. And I was so surprised and just blew my mind, I think, that he was doing some examinations with ophthalmoscope and hammer. Then he was coming up with this strange names of diagnosis. So I was thinking, how is it possible? He just did some few things, and how did he come? That's where I thought neurology is the field that I want to be. It was like love at first sight. I didn't choose neurology. Neurology chose me at that moment. At that moment, I felt that neurology was for me, was a calling. It's like, that is something that satisfies my curiosity about science, about world, about medicine. So I think the most important thing for you will be, is it something that you can do or not? I mean, personality wise, are you able to do this job? Our job is not easy. Sometimes you have long hours. Sometimes you work in the weekends. I remember my professor was saying that if you go to medicine, you need to be ready for everything. He was saying that I was in a park, and they paged me overhead, and I was with my family. I had to leave them and go to the hospital for emergency. So you need to have some sense of dedication to the field. You need to have a sense of purpose and passion about this field. And you need to always feel that you are a student forever. In neurology, we are a student forever. I search my patients every day. If I see a difficult case, I'll go and Google and search other places to find what is the diagnosis, because we have this vast knowledge about different things, different conditions with different presentations. So be a student. You need to be hardworking. You need to have purpose. You need to love what you do. You need to love your patients. That is important. I love my patients. When they come here, I feel like they're my parents. So the way that I wanted to deal with my parents, I deal with my patients. So I think if you have those simple principles, you will enjoy your job, you will be happy, and you will be content. That is what I suggest to anybody that comes to this field.
Well, Dr. Khademi, this was really insightful. Thank you for sharing your journey, your wisdom, and your perspective on changing the landscape of the specialty care.
Thank you, Rakesh, for this invitation. It was a great talk with you, and I enjoyed a lot.
Thank you. For everyone listening, if you are a resident, a fellow, or a physician thinking about entrepreneurship, I hope this episode gives you clarity and courage. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next episode.